Yo, and welcome back for another hand from the Boom Hand Reviews. My name's Alex, and today we're reviewing a hand from Chippy93 from the $215 Sunday Million. We've got a good starting hand here in the second level with Ace Queen suited, so we'll just see what happens. Before I start the video, another gun has folded. So another gun +1 brings it in for a raise, just brings it 2.5x standard. I would just like to see it flat in this spot. Guys under the gun range in the Sunday Million is going to be quite narrow here. Probably going to be bringing it in 8, 10 suited and 4 plus really. So we don't want to get too crazy with the Ace Queen. So I just want to. I would love to see a flat here. That would be the optimal play in my opinion. It's still a flat. This doesn't change much. So we're 4 ways to the flop, and we'll just see what the flop brings. For our hand Ace Queen suited, this is the nut flop. Top pair plus nut flush draw. So yeah, we'll just see what happens here. So under the gun leads out for just around half pot. With his calling range, he could have a set here from small blind. He could even have range hands like 5-6 suited, which we're doing awesome against. Also hands like maybe Ace-3 suited. So the hands that he's leading out here are relatively strong. Leading out in 3 opponents, sorry, is quite strong from the small blind, but we'll just see what happens. Some people think it's an auto raise here, as it's the second level and we've got a lot of big blinds. I think it's quite stupid to bring this in for a raise. What are we raising? We may be raising to build a pot for when we get there, but at the same time, the small blind has shown a lot of strength. I think the best thing to do here is just to call. For instance, if one of the players, I don't know, has a crazy hand like top set, we've only got around 30% equity against top set, so you don't want to be getting it in his 30% equity. And if he has a hand like top, ace king, we are still only flipping against that range. So it's like getting it in fives versus kings in the second level of the Sunday Million. You don't want to do that, and you've only got 2 cards to come. So I think flatten here is perfect. Under the gun, but the small blind showing a lot of strength. So we don't want to go too crazy with this hand. So we'll just flat here, see what happens on the turn. We don't get there on the turn. The board pairs. So if anyone did have a set, they've just filled up. So a hand does lose a little bit of equity there. So it's just interesting to see what under the gun does. What the small blind does. Now this puts us in a very tricky position. Our hand is still very strong, but with the under the gun raising and the original raiser, the small blind raiser and the small blind opening and the original raiser re-raising, it puts us in quite a tricky position with Ace Queen. We could already be drawing dead and very thin, so I think the best thing to do here is just to fold. If we do get there, as I said, there's a lot of reverse implied odds in case the original raiser does have a hand like aces, or the small blind does have a hand like 3s or 4s. Whereas we will stack off if we get there, but if the hands he stacks off is probably going to be beating our hands already. So there's a few cards that we don't want to see, which obviously would be tricky, like a queen. We're probably going to stack off there as well. And a club would obviously stack off. But there's a lot reverse implied odds here is something we've definitely got to think about, because we could already be drawing dead. And with the original raiser raising, I think with 1 card to come, I think we've just got to fold here. We've only committed about 600 chips into the pot, so we can fold here very happily, in my opinion. We don't want to call here and then the small blind just jam, and then we're in a world of pain where we've got to fold and we've already put another 2,000 chips into the pot. So I do think it's a mistake, even though we've got a strong hand and a strong draw. I think with this raise there, it's just shown that our hand's not strong enough and we could be drawing dead. So I definitely think it's a fold. And as we've called, it's just an overcall. We're stuck in a world of hate a lot. As I say, if the small blind re-raises, then we're screwed. I think if we want to continue with the hand, we should bring it in for a raise or just a jam there. But I think calling is the worst option of the 3. It just puts us in a tricky position if the small blind shoves and the original raiser folds. So I think we should just fold and give up there. And obviously we'll see what happens when we continue. So we're heads up now. So small blind does fold. So you may have had suited connectors, as I've said, like 5-6, maybe a straight draw of some kind. But yeah, so obviously since he's fold, we're now heads up. The original raiser's range can have us dominated with hands like Ace King. With us overcalling, that does look strong as well. But we can have like hands like we do have as well. So Ace King is probably got a bit of value on the river. It's unlikely we have threes or fours. We're more likely to have a hand that's drawing or a hand like Ace Queen suited. So if the opponent does have Ace King, I expect him to fire a bit of a value bet on the river. But we'll see what happens. And we miss our draw, so we've got Ace Queen. And as you've seen there, the original raiser just check. It puts us in a bit of a tricky spot. Sometimes I think we can get called by a worse hand on by the same hand, but I don't like the bet here. Sometimes he checks Ace King. Obviously now we take um, hands like Aces full out of his range. He no longer has a full house. But as our draw missed, the pot's relatively big. I would like to see a check behind. It's unlikely the original raiser does that with Ace Jack. I don't think he'd raise the turn with Ace Jack. It wouldn't make much sense unless he has Ace Jack of Hearts. Obviously, we'll get there on the river, then he would bet. So we can rule out hands like that. So I think if we bet, we're only going to get called by worse hands. So then again, I just think we should check behind. We played, in my opinion, I think we played the turn wrong, but we've sort of got away with it a little bit. But we'll see what happens on the. We'll see what happens. I hope we check behind because, as I say, if we bet, I think we're only going to get called by worse hands. And we do check, and the opponent has Ace King. Now that was definitely in the opponent's range, and as I said, if we went a bit crazy on the flop, and for some obscene reason we got it all in on the flop, we would have only been flipping against Ace King, and we would have lost all of our chips and been out of the tournament. So I think we played the hand relatively well. I do think it's a fold on the turn with one card to come. It's interesting to see what you guys think about this hand. This is a very interesting hand. It is on the Sunday Million, so there is some good players out there as well who play this tournament. Chippy, yeah, he's got some good results, I'm sure, but I do think he could get away with that on the turn. But yeah, thanks for watching, and please leave a like and comment below. Thanks.